So as I was getting out of bed today, getting ready for my morning routine, of course, making a bunch of coffee, reading articles around the market, stocks, what's going on out there, I stumbled across this one article involving Bed Bath & Beyond talking about an $11.8 billion decision they made years ago that could have led them to where they ended up today, which you guys know, as of last Sunday, they filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. So this article was really interesting in my opinion, and we're going to break it down in this video. And of course, we're going to break down the stock as well, take a look at the chart. So if y'all find value, hit that like button, make sure to subscribe, and don't forget to get up to 15 stocks for Moomoo. It is free money. All the details are down below. We'll talk more about that later. And now, cheers guys, you gotta love that coffee. Happy Friday. Let's dive into it. So right now it's almost noon on the East Coast, and by the way guys, Bed Bath & Beyond is at a fresh all-time low. It just hit 10 cents, 10.3 cents to be exact, and it's down over 8 cents so far on the day. And you guys probably know I called out this descending triangle, I believe, yesterday. Well, that is slowly starting to play out. You guys can see we've been making clear lower highs over the past couple of days. You have one right here, boom, another one right here, boom. We have multiple here, right? You guys see that one, and I guess this technically is one as well. So we've been making these lower highs into a clear support that we've also been holding over the past couple of days, being around 11-ish cents. And now we're actually breaking through that point, like I said, as Bed Bath & Beyond stock just hit a fresh all-time low. So now we're seeing a technical pattern play out that could get BBBY stock down to maybe under 10 cents. Maybe it starts going 8 cents, 7 cents, 9 cents. That's the way I'm looking at it right now. And that's just the reality of the matter right now, guys, which is what I cover here on the channel. I'm not going to sugarcoat. I'm not playing both sides. I'm just being honest, right, guys? And a lot of people in the comments, they get mad. They're like, oh, this day he says that, this day he says that. You have to read past the YouTube title and the thumbnail. At the end of the day, guys, this is YouTube. That's how you get attention. That's how you get clicks, by having these crazy out there thumbnails and titles. But the actual content is where we dive into what's going on the day-to-day with Bed Bath & Beyond. So if we're seeing some crazy volume, if we're seeing crazy price action, I might title a video one way, but it's not, it's not like I'm just completely flip-flopping every single day. I'm just covering the day-to-day of what's going on with Bed Bath & Beyond. And at this point, guys, the reality of the matter is we have a descending triangle and it's playing out. We're dumping under this 11 cent support, and we just hit, like I said, 10.3 cents. And by the looks of it, guys, it could get worse. And if it does end up ripping out of these resistance points, we start squeezing again, that's when I'm going to be like, okay, maybe we're starting to break out. Maybe there's a short-term upside here. But right now, it doesn't look like that's the case. Again, there could be more downside in the short term. And if you guys get mad at that, if you guys are like, oh, Stas keeps on flip-flopping, what the heck's his problem? I am just giving it to you guys how it is. I'm telling you all what I'm seeing here on the charts. Take it or leave it, guys. Take it or leave it. Again, Bed Bath & Beyond stock is down 8%, and it's starting to fall under a very critical level. So with that being said, guys, let's talk about this article here that I was reading earlier this morning on CNN Business that really sparked my interest, and it's honestly something that I didn't even know about. So you can see the headline right here, which is a pretty captivating headline, which really sparked me to read the article. You guys can see the $11.8 billion mistake that led to Bed Bath & Beyond's demise. Pretty interesting title there with a video of a woman here with a shopping cart full of Bed Bath & Beyond merchandise, and of course they have a bunch of juicers here on the left, a bunch of products. Either way, she's in the Bed Bath & Beyond store. So if you guys didn't know, and actually I didn't even know this until I read the article, which is why we're covering it in this video, Bed Bath & Beyond has made plenty of mistakes that led to this week's bankruptcy filing. Of course, no kidding, no kidding, right? And among the most consequential was the $11.8 billion it spent since 2004 to buy back its own shares. So we're going back almost 2 decades ago now, and they ended up buying back $11.8 billion of their own stock over the course of that time period. That is insane. And listen, guys, we've covered this before. Sometimes, a lot of the time, it's a good sign that companies are buying back their own stock because it takes shares off the marketplace. And if you own those shares, if you're already an existing shareholder, that makes your ownership more valuable. Think of when Alphabet or Amazon or one of these big tech names, they're buying back their own stock. that makes your ownership, if you own those stocks, and mind you, they are buying back their own stocks, especially Google and, Meta, these companies, right? That makes your ownership more valuable. That's another way that, management can give back to shareholders and increase their ownership, right? They can also give back by, paying dividends and investing within the business, taking the earnings and not buying back stock, not giving out dividends, but investing in maybe, research and development, marketing, and to really grow the business that way from within. There's many ways that companies can reinvest money and deploy capital. And in this case, Bed Bath & Beyond, again, they put $11.8 billion valuable dollars back into their stock since 2004, which right now, guys, you all know, the stock is pretty much worthless. It's at 11 cents, 10 cents, and its all-time high, if I remember correctly, was anywhere from 70 to 75, 80 bucks, something like that, which I'm sure they were buying back shares during that time period as well. So think about that, guys. They took so much cash, all that cash, instead of trying to maybe pay down debt, instead of trying to reinvest in the business and, try and figure out a way to actually get the business to move forward, they took all that money and they bought back their own stock instead, which now in hindsight, which I'm sure at the moment, at that time, they didn't realize that, but now in hindsight, that was actually a massive mistake. And the company's repurchase program was not unique, but for a cash-starved business that announced it would likely be forced to close all of its stores if it couldn't find an 11th hour savior to buy it, the money could have been better spent. Instead, it fueled a desperate and ultimately failed effort to support the stock price. And of course, there's a lot of pressure from, shareholders and, just big investors out there to keep that stock price up, to keep that stock price moving. And one way that, they can do that, one way that management can do that is by buying back their own shares. But again, that money could have been used elsewhere to move the business forward. And in this case, a lot of the money, again, was put to buy back the stock. The $11.8 billion Bed Bath & Beyond spent on its own stock since 2004 comes to more than twice the $5.2 billion in debt it had on its books in the most recent SEC filing, a debt load that proved absolutely crushing for the company, and it left the company unable to buy the inventory required to create the sales it needed to reverse losses. So yeah, they would have loved to have that $11.8 billion right now, but of course, guys, they bought stock over the course of 2 decades. So, I mean, there's no way they could have had all the money at once, but you guys know what I mean, right? It looks like there was clear mismanagement of this money by the management team. And of course, a lot of that has to do with pressure from shareholders. You guys can see right here, back in 2014, they took on $2 billion in debt to finance share rebuybacks. You never want to see that, guys. You never want to see companies taking out debt to buy back their own shares. I mean, that is just lunacy. If you guys, and mind you, back in July 2014, let's actually go back to the stock price right here. I believe that's actually, no joke, which is kind of ironic now that I'm thinking about it. That's actually when the stock peaked, I believe. No joke. I'm not even kidding. Yeah, look at that, guys. When the company took on $2 billion of debt to buy back their own stock, look at this. That was back at the all-time high, which, like I said earlier in the video, was at about 70, 80 bucks. It was more like 80 bucks. That's back in 2014, guys, when they took on that debt. And now look at that, guys. They took on $2 billion of debt to buy back shares at all-time highs, and now the stock is at 10 freaking cents. That's just insane. And listen to this, guys. This is pretty painful to hear. At that point, the company had a little debt pretty much, and it put Bed Bath & Beyond on a path toward a debt load that ultimately proved unaffordable. So up until 2014, guys, Bed Bath & Beyond was doing pretty well, fairly well as a company. Stock was at all-time highs. Very strong, performance there. And I mean, pretty much since that point, it's been nothing but downhill. Again, they took $2 billion to buy back their own stock at a point where they pretty much had no debt, like we just talked about. And well, that was such a bad decision, guys, looking back. And again, it's been downhill ever since that point. And look at this, guys. This is exactly what I was just saying. We understand they have the equity shareholders to serve. Generally, we would prefer to use their cash flow to invest back in the business, said Sarah Wyeth, the lead credit analyst for the consumer and retail sectors for S&P. Even mergers and acquisitions would be less risky than a straight share repurchase. So guys, listen, a lot of companies, they buy back their own stock, and you have to realize a lot of these big tech names that do that, they do that A, to really please their shareholders, and B, a lot of the time they don't have much much better things to do with that capital. Sure, they could pay back the dividend. Yes, they do invest a lot in their business, but they're also so freaking flooded with cash, a lot of these big tech names, that they can also afford to buy back their shares as well. But in a lot of cases, Bed Bath & Beyond being one of them, they couldn't afford to do everything, right? They couldn't repurchase their shares while at the same time, investing in a bunch of inventory, marketing, research and development to grow their business. They just did way too much at the same time, and the debt load piled up, and well, they ended up getting screwed because of it. And really, with the benefit of hindsight, looking back, if they were actually able, instead of repurchase all those shares, instead of doing that, maybe, reinvesting in the business or focusing on the more efficient stores, closing down, stores that weren't producing, right? Maybe doing something else, something more unique with the business. I mean, look, Target has thrived, Walmart has thrived. What have they been doing that has really worked? If Bed Bath & Beyond was able to do that, maybe mimic that, they would be in a way better position right now, to the point where maybe they wouldn't have to file for Chapter 11. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it for the video. Very interesting stuff, guys. And of course, we'll talk more about Bed Bath & Beyond as everything ends up unfolding. So if you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, feel free to subscribe. And of course, don't forget to get up to 15 stocks for Moomoo, link down below. Once you open up an account, you get 1 free share of stock. If you deposit at least $100, you get 4 more stocks totaling 5 stocks. And if you deposit at least $1,000, you get another 10 stocks totaling 15 free stocks, guys. And you could also get 12 stocks from Webull, and check out my Patreon. All of those links are down below. And just know, guys, all those links help out the channel. And with that being said, I'll catch you guys later.